Delta 9 cigarettes and start
Everyone
potting.
at home. Okay, everyone at home listening to this, let's all light our Delta 9 cigarettes on the count of 3, okay? When I say go, we light them up. 3, 2, 1, go. The cool, refreshing taste of Delta 9.
I think it's actually Delta 8 around here. I did try it, and it tastes like a stale cigarette.
Oh, were we just calling it Delta 9 by mistake this entire time?
I thought it was
I think
Delta
so.
9.
Delta
I think there's
9.
Delta 9s too. I think they do all of them pretty much.
I
Delta
might have
9.
just looked it up. Look at it. Oh, I'm so high.
There's like a bunch of various like one molecule off of THC
Right.
things now, basically.
They're going to be making new drugs forever. Looking forward to Water 2, which is the only thing we're going to be able to drink soon. Welcome back to Boys Bible Study, the show where we fucking, I don't know, jump over railings straight into the scripture. I'm Ash. I'm here with my co-hosts.
Scott.
And Julian. And Julian. and Julian.
Yes. We are, of course, here today to continue our exploration of the Leap series of films. If you were able to tune in for last week's bonus episode, we covered the 2010 film Leap, which is a DIY, totally DIY film by Chris Tempel. It's a very interesting film, but it's also clearly a very like amateurish first time piece by a very ambitious DIY young director. It's very compelling, but it's also a very simple movie. Leap, Rise of the Beast, the film that we're talking about today, builds on the original Leap in every way.
Really?
Yes.
I'm coming in at Leap 1. You all started
Right.
at Leap 0.
We did. It kind of does feel like that. To me, it feels like, Leap was the film he had to make to figure out how to make a film. And
Yeah.
Leap, Rise of the Beast is like maybe what he really wanted to do. I mean, I'm kind of speculating, but like there's just so much more lore. It's so much higher definition. There's lighting, there's effects, there's choreography.
I feel like not having seen the first one, outside of the stuff with his ex, I don't think I really missed that much.
No, God, no.
I felt like I knew for a movie as convoluted as this, and maybe it's because we've watched so many movies like this, I did not feel like I was lost at all at any point.
Absolutely
In
not.
fact, Julian, you would have been more lost had you seen the first one for reasons that we will definitely be explaining.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good
Yeah,
to know.
yeah. There is some confusing casting stuff that happened.
Oh.
Basically, to summarize, though, in the first movie, it's just alternating montages of Shane, the lead in this movie. He is almost the only recurring cast member. He's also the lead in the original Leap. It mostly alternates montages of him doing parkour, like jumping over bike racks and picnic tables and shit.
Yeah.
And it alternates with long extended sequences of all the gang in Bible study together, where they discuss topics such as AIDS and HIV are God's punishment toward homosexuals.
Right. I remember you telling me that.
Genuinely one of the most conservative films we've ever watched, which is very funny because it's like Russian teens doing parkour.
That is funny. I mean, doesn't it seem like sometimes Christian teenagers are like Christian youth are more conservative than adults because they'll just believe like literally anything?
Yeah, I mean,
like, literally.
I think that there's something to that. I watched some of the Leap Rise of the Beast director's commentary, which Chris Tempel uploaded to YouTube like 10 years, like somewhat recently, like last year, like 10 years after the film was released in 2012. And he himself is like, I had a revelation where I decided to investigate the Bible for myself to see what it actually said and not what like pastors and culture told me. So it was I agree. There's this like, that's sort of like precocious teenage idea of like, you just want to read it and take it
Yeah.
seriously and take it literally, and maybe even a thought that you like know better than what the guides around you in your life are saying about it. Like that spirit comes through in Leap Rise of the Beast to me.
I think too, like when you're a younger Christian and a new idea comes your way, that you can get pretty enthusiastic about it too. Whereas like
Yeah.
if you're older, you might not be ready to like run out and spread the good word as quickly.
Right. I think there's something to that. Yeah, the teenage passion for exploration and also the fervor to, evangelize, to be an activist for your message. I mean, I think that all comes across in Leap, like the several scenes where the parkour teens stand on top of a high place and yell at people, "The beast is the Vatican."
People, listen up. We have a message for you.
Listen to us. You've all been chipped, and you're forced to go to sanctioned churches, correct?
Our message to you is simple. God cannot be forced on anyone. You have to choose to love God. And you who are going along with this chip garbage are going against God, not with him.
The Vatican is the beast of Revelation. By going along with the scheme, you are following the devil. And when Judgment Day comes, you will be destroyed.
Read your Bible, put your faith in Christ, and turn away from the beast.
Parkour people might be the lamest people
Okay.
on earth. Just seeing them like crouched up there like the Phantom of the Opera, like yelling stuff like that, I would be like, I have never stood so firmly with the New World Order. If this is who I'm like, if these are the people that I have to hang out with.
Yeah. Okay. In the first movie, there's an even sillier scene where they do this thing where they all pose like they're in the Phantom of the Opera, just frozen, and all these people, they draw a crowd, and then they start doing a parkour demonstration, which is literally just like them jumping over the same bike rack over and over again.
Yeah.
It's really funny. But yeah, this is that plus anti-Vatican lore. But I wanted to ask you, remember that, what was the name of that French parkour movie we watched?
I meant to look that up.
Yeah, let's look it up right now because I couldn't remember its name. I couldn't remember its name on the last episode. I know it's a direct influence on
District 13.
District 13.
Or
right.
District B13, as it's called some places. Not sure.
Don't
why,
trust the B in
but
District B13.
that was okay.
Yes, so I agree. It was okay. And I did sort of mention this a bit in the last episode, but to reiterate my views on parkour films, the thing about parkour to me is that when it is executed well, it doesn't actually look as impressive as the feat that it is.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas like Kung Fu, martial arts, they have more of like a bombast, like more of a flourish, you know? Whereas parkour, it's just like, okay, it's clearly like impressive that you did that, but it also just sort of looked like you were like just jumping or like walking.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a Kung Fu movie often requires 2 or more people working choreographed.
That's a good point.
To like demonstrate. It's like watching a really elaborate dance.
Right.
Whereas this, it's just a person crawling on their hands and knees on a fence. Remember when he was doing that? Or like a hand railing? It's not that impressive.
No, I mean, it's like,
I mean, I'm sure I couldn't do it, but I'm like, I would never care to do that.
that's how I feel. That's obviously how I feel about Leap. And honestly, I even felt that way about District B13. Like, it was like, higher budget. There was some really cool sequences, thrilling action, fun heroes and villains. But yeah, I found myself when the movie was done kind of being like, that's it. Even though I knew in my head that what I was seeing was actually quite athletic.
Yeah, I was pretty underwhelmed by it too.
Yeah.
And parkour movies, from the two that I've seen now, it seems like the people who make parkour movies aren't the best writers or actors either. So you're kind of missing in some very crucial filmmaking parts.
Yeah.
They need Michael Bay to do a parkour movie. Then it would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
We need like the John Wick of parkour or something.
Yeah.
The John Wick of Christian parkour. Yeah, whatever brain lobe is missing that causes someone to want to jump from one balcony to another doesn't necessarily lend oneself to writing good treatments for a feature film, possibly.
Yeah.
But here we have the exception, fortunately.
But here we have the exception, Leap, Rise of the Beast, a very ambitious treatment, which takes our parkour cast, the lead, which we've met in the previous film. Almost everyone else is a new character. But, you know, it takes the parkour teens we know and love, and it plants them smack dab in the center of yet another anti-Vatican conspiracy.
We've been coming along this, coming along these, across these.
Yeah, this is
quite frequently.
This is our new favorite genre. Like, this blew my mind when we watched Elijah's Secret, because, like, of course, I mean, you know, what's the rule of just like liking outsider media or liking any media really is like, just when you think you've seen it all, like, here comes something and you're just like, oh, of course there's a whole realm of like Protestants who believe that like the Pope is legitimately working in tandem with the devil to bring about the new world order. Like, of course. Like, I never would have thought of that myself, but I wish I had, because now I completely agree with it. It makes sense to me.
It does. What's going on? Well, they have their own city? What the fuck?
Yeah, like, that is a little suspicious, I've got to say.
I was thinking about that too.
It's kind of fucked up.
You don't really think about it until somebody points it out.
Yeah.
It's like its own country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they doing over there? Vatican City, I say more like Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me.
And everything is really fancy.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
It's like the Vegas of
Where's
religion.
all that money going, you know?
Well, that's
Where's it coming from? Where's it going? It's the Cotton Eye Joe of
Scott, at the Patreon live stream that we did last week that you curated, didn't we watch a news clip about people talking about the Vatican's financial corruption?
Yeah, it was like from CBS.
They were like, the Pope is also, you know, a CEO who presides over a, you know, lucrative, like, blah, 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 which is like, I mean, true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a country and a business and a religion. A little questionable.
The Pope is spiritual leader to millions of Catholics. He's also CEO of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, the Vatican. But, say the two new books, behind all this magnificence lies a financial mess. Emiliano Fittipaldi is the author of Avarice.
Is it incompetence inside the Vatican when it comes to handling money, or is it corruption?
Entrambi problemi.
Both, says Fittipaldi, and at the highest levels.
It's crazy. Like, listen, no disrespect on your average everyday practicing Catholic, but like, that would be like, I was going to say, what if like the Jews had a whole country or whatever? And I was like, oh, wait, yeah. Well, Israel isn't a business, theoretically.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
I mean, I don't know. Does going clubbing to like trance remixes of Dua Lipa songs with like swarthy shirtless guys, does that constitute like a business venture? Because that's basically my impression. I mean, that's what I would do in Israel.
That's a lot of Israel.
Well, also after watching Elijah's Secret, which we watched 2 weeks ago, I learned two things. One, I am vehemently anti-Catholic, and two, I stand with Israel. I am in my pro-Israel era. I would party in Tel Aviv tomorrow if someone helped me get there.
I took a pill in Tel Aviv.
I do appreciate, though, with Catholicism now, specifically from us diving into this the past couple of weeks, this our anti-Catholic stance, that they do have all this history to look at. So, like, for example, at the Patreon live stream, we were watching that video from William Tapley, the third eagle of the apocalypse, who himself is Catholic.
That guy's awesome.
But he thinks like Pope Francis is a false pope.
That is a lie, Pope Francis. You are perverting the gospel. You tell a little truth to get in your lie. You are the false prophet. That's why you don't tell the truth about prophets.
Yes.
And
right.
He can look at all this like history of the Catholic Church and like see the difference in this now. And I feel like with a lot of like the evangelical trajectory, it's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind. And like a lot of the history is not really properly written down in any capacity, good or bad.
Right.
And so you just kind of believe what you heard last instead of like, I don't know, like I see a noticeable difference in like my parents go to the exact same type of church now that they did when I was a kid, but I see like a difference in the overall belief system now as from then, but there's like no paper trail besides my memory.
A very good point. Yeah, it's like it's a younger, more like oral tradition that very conveniently evolves with the times, whereas like Catholics set this precedent of being like very, very specific about their written liturgy, and it has this tradition going back like literally tens of centuries. And so like when they did the Second Vatican Council in 1960 and like made deliberate, like they had to announce that they had to be like, all right, guys, we're gonna get a little freaky with it now, y'all. And like they had to do that. Whereas, yeah, evangelicals, I mean, they can just like, you can just say whatever you want, kind of.
Yeah, that said, that's why we know that this is a false pope and why the Catholics via the Jesuits are misleading everyone from Vatican City.
We watched that video of the smoke above Pope Francis, which some said was a halo, but as that Catholic YouTuber, the Third Eagle of the Apocalypse, pointed out, it actually looks more like two evil snakes than a halo. And he was like, if you watch the video, I'll show you it after we talk, Julian. If you watch the video, the smoke ring in the church goes above Pope Francis. At first, it looks like a halo. Then it splits apart into two snakes. It goes down, and it appears to enter Pope Francis's head. And as the Third Eagle of the Apocalypse pointed out, smoke doesn't go down, it goes up.
Smoke always ascends. It goes up. It never comes down. Here we see the smoke ring in very slow motion and as a close-up. And at the right, you see the smoke always rising. It never goes down. And it always dissipates, whereas this smoke ring does not dissipate. It's clearly a message. Is it a message from God or from Satan? Or is Satan's message being controlled by God? Because Satan is controlled by God. Is God telling us that this is not a halo? It is not a sign of the Holy Spirit entering into Pope Francis. It's a sign of two demonic entities entering into Pope Francis.
So think about that. How did the smoke go down? Answer me.
Exactly.
Practice.
Yeah, practice. Yeah. So anyway, Pope Francis, false pope. It's great because we have the Protestants like the filmmakers behind Elijah's Secret, and now young Chris Tempel, director of Leap. We have the Protestants who are like, well, the whole Vatican is corrupt, and I mean, sort of all the popes are false popes, but certainly the newest one, Francis, is. And we also have Catholics who. Certain subsets of Catholics who basically have the exact same thesis of this movie. They just believe that, everything before that was fine. And now suddenly there's this anti-Jesuit Pope or this Jesuit Pope who's also the anti-Pope who's going to lead us all into the new world order that we've come to know and love.
Right into the apocalypse.
Just a flying parkour leap right into the lake of fire. But, Leap is still particularly precocious because it's literally made by I think I just watched the director's commentary. I believe Chris Tempel was 25 when he finished this film.
Wow.
So yeah, there's this 23, 24, 25-year-olds writing deep lore about how there's Hebrew transmissions from the mountains that warn us of the plot within the Vatican to get microchips installed in your hands and stuff. And it's that YouTuber, the Third Eagle of the Apocalypse, that's an old guy. And it's I don't know. It's just like he's very Chris Temple's very precocious. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah. He has very, very lofty ideas for what he wants to portray in his films for being such a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you out there fucking slaying pussy, kid?
Yeah.
Why are you making
this? On the flip side, I mean, what was I doing when I was that age?
Right.
Certainly wasn't weaving these kinds of tales.
No,
I was not making a feature-length movie.
I was not, dude. I was just talking to freaks online, some of which are now good friends of mine. But it's probably still a waste of time. But yeah, Leap is still is just a very, very fascinating anti-Catholic. Speaking of like intra-Christian, sort of denominational wars. Now, I would not have picked this up from the movie, and I don't really know enough to get super into this, but from the director's commentary, which I just watched minutes ago, Chris Temple is like, I want to be clear that I am not a Seventh-day Adventist. Because there is this whole subplot in the movie where all the kids are like, oh my God, the Bible says we should really be worshiping on Saturday. Like they lied to us and told us we worship on Sunday, which I think is part of what the Seventh-day Adventists believed. But Chris Temple, in his director's commentary, he's like, now I just want to say I am not a Seventh-day Adventist. Like there are many things that they say that I don't agree with, but I do believe that the Bible says this about the Sabbath and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay.
It's methinks thou doth protest too much.
Methinks thou dost advent too much. Also, Chris Temple, he reveals that many of his cast members were from a Pentecostal church.
Okay.
And Chris Temple, in his commentary, he specifically is like, a lot of them, they go to church and they speak in tongues. I do not agree with speaking in tongues. I do not believe that like God would make you speak in a language that could not be understood by other people. Like he's like, all religious communication is meant to like evangelize and be understood. So he doesn't agree with the Adventists. He doesn't agree with the Pentecostals. He doesn't agree with the Catholics. Who do you agree with?
Come on.
Just making up his own religion.
Kind of. I mean,
yeah,
he also
stop trying to fit out and fit in.
Yeah, come on. Get your fucking Hollister shirt and pop the collar. What did we do when we were in middle school? I think that's what we were supposed to do.
I did blood libel for the Dark Pope. Sorry.
Also, he's so KJV focused, which is weird. Like I never understand when people are like, King James version is the one. Like King James is like the king for you. That's the one you trust in history.
Yeah, it's like totally just because they use the floweriest language. It feels the most like ye old testament.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? This is just a hunch I have that's why some people sort of fetishize it. But the last thing I don't want to just repeat Chris's director's commentary, but the last thing that he said that I think is important to share is that he says his whole goal with the movie is to say that what you should do is read the text of the Bible yourself and draw your own conclusions based on what it literally says. And like, question your pastors, question any religious authority, read it for yourself, draw your conclusions. He was like, I read the Bible and I worked out things in history that fit the time-based rapture prophecies that I read in the Bible. And he was like, I believe that these things will come to pass. And he said, I hope that when these things do come to pass in the future, people will be like, that reminds me of a movie I saw a couple years ago called Leap, Rise of the Beast. So
that's what he said he hopes.
Yes.
That's his goal with this.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Oh man, that's funny.
He said the same thing when he was in his videos talking about Leap 3 too. He was also like saying we're gonna make a movie, like it's not a Christian movie that it's not a movie Christians want, it's a movie Christians need. And I think like maybe when it's sort of to like prepare them for things that are gonna happen in the future.
Right.
And so he's like, I don't know. What is his goal here?
I think I honestly just sort of
telling us about the inevitable.
Yeah, I honestly think he just basically thinks that he understands the Bible more than certain religious authorities, and that it's his duty to communicate his vision of the Bible's message, which is a more like literalist message.
Via a random narrative taking place within the world that he's imagining.
Right. Which involves hot teens doing parkour and like, breaking guys' arms in refrigerator doors and stuff like that. Which is how the Bible was meant to be seen.
Yeah, that's what Jesus did when he flipped the money tables.
Yeah,
changing tables.
And he did a fucking backflip over the table, and then he flipped it with his left foot, and then he caught it with his right. Okay. Last director's commentary thing. He also said that he had felt no contradiction about doing a violent movie because the Bible is violent.
Fair enough.
And he was like, I don't think that God would shy away from depicting a message using violent imagery.
Frequently in the Bible, there are passages where a character says, I'm not angry at you, and then shoots them in the head with a pistol that they were secretly holding.
There was a startling amount of people being shot in the head in this movie.
Yeah. And it happened the same way every time, where somebody just was like completely not expecting it from a person that, like, clearly the person had already decided to kill this person.
Yeah.
Like the evil agent guy.
Right.
Twice. He was like interrogating somebody, and he was like, all right, you're free to go to hell, and then would like shoot them in the head.
You're right. Yeah.
It's like, what was the point of that whole like conversation?
Yeah. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Those agents were a bad dude. Those agents were bad dudes. The parkour teens who are receiving these Hebrew messages from a radio signal in the mountains, they are being pursued by some sort of nebulous secret agent group. Can't remember the title of the organization that they identified themselves as being a part of. Does not matter.
Yeah, I think if you like spelled out the first letter of each word of the organization, it's spelled Jesuit.
Something like that. I mean, the essence of why this group was so dangerous and why they were being pursued by these secret agents, I mean, I'm talking about our heroes here. It is because they got to the bottom of things. They know what the Vatican is doing, and they refuse to get the microchip, and they refuse to eat the bug and live in the pod. Mm-hmm. And they do not bow to the universal faith that the Vatican is issuing. They also understand that the beast in Bible prophecies probably actually refers to, when you talk about the harlot riding the beast is a metaphor of a country that will be used by the Antichrist. And let me tell you, this country, give you a hint, rhymes with Vatican City.
Do you think that when like the vaccine was getting rolled out, like the CDC and whatever had to consider that a decent chunk of the population was going to think that this was like the mark of the beast?
You know what? That is a great question, because that only really crossed my mind watching like 8 Rapture movies with you guys over the last 2 months. That same thought legitimately crossed my mind. I was like, did someone in there had to be like, oh yeah, literally everyone's going to think that this is the mark of the beast from the Bible.
Which is why it's like optional.
Right.
I mean, it's funny because like people are still kind of saying it's like, oh yeah, the like one world order taking over, but I mean, they're not doing a very good job of it because they're just like, yeah, well, We tried for 3 weeks, and now you can all just come into the store.
Well, it's funny because they definitely played at it. It's weird because the rapture prophecies, it is supposed to be somewhat optional. It's like I find that these stories can never really decide how optional it is. They say that it's optional because you yourself have to make the choice, because it is the thing that will like wipe your soul from the book of life.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like you're also in these movies, they simultaneously portray it as like
you have to do it.
You basically have to do it in order to like exist in society whatsoever. So it's like it's hard for me to really see how that's like optional, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering because it seems like at least in this movie, there was a funny part that made me think like, oh, that's not the mark of the beast. It's stuff like cashless stores.
Yes.
Because the beginning, the like inciting action at the beginning is a guy stealing from a store because they only accept chipped customers.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
Eat and run.
You should have taken the chip, kid.
Think I should dose him before we take him in?
Nah, I think we should keep this one from running again.
Yeah.
Congratulations, kid. You just resisted arrest.
And all I could think about was all the like bougie sandwich places that are like no cash
Right.
allowed.
Absolutely.
Basically like telling any person who for whatever reason doesn't have a debit or credit card, like you cannot eat here.
Yeah.
Yeah, your money's no good here.
Yeah.
Truly. No, you have to be chipped. You have to have bought into the
you literally have to
imaginary
have the
money
chip
system.
Yes.
Yeah.
On your card to shop here.
Yeah, maybe it's not embedded in your body, but it's like it may as well be, you know?
Yeah.
It's very interesting. You know, it definitely already exists, and it's funny to see, you know, the speculation of how that will happen one day when it's I think pretty convincingly already among us.
Yeah.
But you know, the parkour teens in this film, they had some other pretty cool ideas of how the Vatican, who are of course behind all this, will use the microchips to compel you in this new era. They start implementing forced worship.
Yeah.
So they have this new phenomenon where it's required that you go to mass or whatever. And if you enter the church, you get funds on your microchip that's installed in your body. And if you don't go, you can be punished by imprisonment or death. So you either get money or you get killed.
I'll take the money.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Doesn't seem like that hard of a choice.
No.
But a choice nonetheless.
Just like be a freaking good person, okay? There's a funny line in the movie. One of the girls says, just because someone follows the Vatican, that doesn't make them a bad person, right?
Honey. It does.
Oh, honey. Oh,
that's like when
someday.
people like when people used to like look at other like when I just remember looking at people's like Twitter feeds or whatever or Instagram thing and be like, oh, this person follows Trump. They must agree with him.
Right.
But then being like, oh, yeah, everybody fucking follows Trump.
Right.
Because he says crazy shit all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny in this movie because, of course, they're trying to use it as like, well, sure, the average person who, you know, is a Catholic, they basically are just trying to be humble in that moment and say that, you know, most everyday Catholics are just misguided souls. They're not people who, you know, willingly want part of, you know, the New World Order per se. But like, it's just, you know, that it is really funny in a movie when like a character's like, but the Catholics can't all be bad, right? Like the subtext is they are all bad.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I say bring on the New World Order.
Yeah,
it
why
can't
not?
be any worse than the current world order.
Seriously, God.
Am I alone in thinking that?
They're relying on you thinking that. But yeah, I agree.
that's true.
Let's do something.
Well, then the
Jesus.
current world order should do a better job of making me like them.
Yeah. Well,
Like I'm ready for the pod and the bug.
And maybe
let's give it a shot.
Maybe the fact that we don't like them, it's like when your teacher that you hate goes out of town for a week, and then you get a substitute teacher who's even worse.
Yeah.
And then when your regular teacher comes back, you're like, oh, I'm so glad you're back. That's how we're gonna feel when the New World Order takes hold.
And then the old world order starts putting up billboards that say "Miss me yet." Don't blame me. I voted for the New World Order.
Do you know they're giving Joe Biden fucking like anti-aging things?
Shut up.
No, they are. It's crazy. He apparently grew.
Not. I think he gave him a placebo.
He was in the control group.
Yeah.
No, he fucking. Apparently, he grew half an inch this year.
What?
Wow.
I want some of this stuff.
Yeah, he grew half an inch.
Cusping 6 feet. I need these things.
He grew half an
I
inch.
can't be the shortest person on this podcast.
If this stuff is working, he is aging really fast. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The fucking the White House nurse is like looking at the pill bottle and it says aging pills. Oh
Yeah.
crap!
Oh my god! Fucking like, there's just a beard like growing from his body at a rapid rate, and they have scissors and they keep just trying to cut it off. Okay, I love at this point in my life, I fully just like scroll past something on Twitter and I'm like, wow, you just gotta let go and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna be misinformed. I want that. I think
so
I'm
bad.
right personally. No, I'm totally just like buying into it. Like my whole I'm trying to engage the world with curiosity instead of I'm trying to be like, wow, damn.
I shut everything out now and I shut everything down. Somebody told me that Roe v. Wade got turned over and I overturned. I said no, it didn't. And I just live in that happy existence.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I just live and let God.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
You know what? It's these three, similar yet contrasting philosophies that I think like create for the high level of philosophical discussion that people can expect when they tune into Boys Bible Study.
I don't even remember where I heard that, and I based my entire life around it.
You heard it from, of course, the famous Paul McCartney and Wings song, "I Live and Let God." Well, a lot of this movie is straight up just like a lore dump. I will say this seems to be a motif in Chris Tempel's work. In the first leap, again, there will just be literally like a 20-minute long Bible study sequence, which can be a bit tedious. In this movie, they say it's just funny because my notes are like, it just basically is like a list of facts because it's like teens sitting in like some sort of corner store talking to each other and being like, Solomon's temple has to be rebuilt. No, it doesn't have to. The temple is the body of Christ, the people, blah, blah, blah. At some point, someone talks about Mormonism, Hitler, and all that other new age garbage.
That's cool hearing those things lumped together.
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But what about Mormonism, Hitler, and all that other new age garbage?
Thinking of Hitler as new age garbage is really funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was like 1 minute after they told the anecdote about the pastor shoving the student's head underwater.
Yes, that's an important anecdote. Maybe we should share that for a bit. There is one of the, I guess, more important scenes in the movie, which Chris actually mentions directly on the director's commentary as being like some of the most important message of the movie. The lead of Leap, Shane, the main character Shane, he tells a story of, oh God, I mean, we're probably just gonna have to put it in the audio clip, but it's basically like,
I once heard a story about a kid who asked the same question you just did. He asked his pastor while walking through the park one day, how do I find the truth amongst all these lies? In reply, his pastor took his head and shoved it underwater in a nearby fountain. The kid struggled and tried to get away, but the pastor held him there until he was out of breath. Finally, when the kid was about to drown, The pastor pulled him back up. The kid took a deep breath and looked at the pastor and said, "Why did you do that, pastor?" He told the kid, "The moment you want the truth, as badly as you just now wanted air, you'll find it."
That amount that you desired the air to breathe, that's how much you should desire the biblical truth, which, of course, as we know, it is that the Vatican is the great beast and Pope Francis is the antichrist.
Yeah. Can you put me under a soda stream instead?
That's because you stand with Israel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What else?
The president's name is Ugod or Ugoth. I wasn't sure. He's either
that one's very
Ugoth
interesting.
from Wu-Tang or his name's Ugoth.
Yes, I wrote in my notes President Ugod, spelled like the Wu-Tang rapper as well. In 2022, President Ugod took total control of the world and he did away with faith.
Okay. I would have gotten rid of low self-esteem. That's just me.
Yeah. I would have gotten rid of anxiety.
Yeah.
I would have gotten rid of imposter syndrome. What if the Antichrist has imposter syndrome? What if he's like, I can't be the Antichrist?
Even Maya Angelou suffered from imposter syndrome.
I'm not sure if I know why the cage bird sings. So one thing that a lot of these movies don't really seem to be able to to make up their mind on is the New World Order completely secular, or is it like completely like a forced faith? Like this movie is both like, the new like president of the world is like, you don't need faith, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the Vatican is saying like, you have to go to mass in order to like get money. But also the Vatican is intentionally obscuring the word. They've changed worship to Sundays. They don't teach the Bible anymore, allegedly. They don't drink from the garden hose. They don't like shuck peas with Meemaw. Like they don't do any of that stuff.
I was taught that growing up that Catholics are not Bible based, that they don't read their Bibles.
I mean,
what do they read? Audiobooks don't count.
They read.
They mostly listen to podcasts.
Yeah, they read like the like original like Godfather novels, the ones that the movies were based on.
Do you think there's a podcast that is just someone reading the Bible like verse by verse or page by page? Yeah,
probably.
Be a fun project.
I mean, one thing I think is really cool about Islam is like how Quran recitations are like a thing. Like there's just people who are famous because of like how beautifully and perfectly they can like sing the Quran from beginning to end.
Wow.
I think that's amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The Quran's not nearly as long as the Bible.
You're saying it's not very impressive. It's like parkour. It's like if you're really good at doing it, it just looks so easy that it's like not even impressive.
No, I'm just saying, like if somebody were to do that with the Bible, it would be really impressive. I mean, if somebody did that with Lord of the Rings, it'd be even more impressive, or like Infinite Jest or something.
Infinite Jest would be awesome. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Bible.
For Roseanne Barr singing the Bible, the entire Bible before you have to open the basketball game.
Her new stand-up's out. I got advertised it on
That's
Roku
right.
TV.
I'm about to go on. I'm praying to God that He lets my brains work for once, and He protects me from myself.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it.
Somebody, maybe we just watched clips, but it's like, you just wish that she wouldn't have to do that. And she should just enjoy her retirement.
Yeah.
But she probably has to work.
I don't think she has to work. She was huge. I mean, I think she has to work because she probably made some bad investments.
I mean, yeah, and then like Roseanne was, the reboot was canceled on account of like she was on Ambien, and I can't even remember what she said.
Her alleged,
well, of course,
story.
I personally,
I think she went back and was like, "No, what I said wasn't offensive."
Which my take on that is like, just let Mima have her television show, like,
yeah,
just
what
let
she
her have
said
her
was pretty
show.
bad.
I literally don't even remember. I don't know.
You might want to read what she said before you start saying she should have a television show.
Okay, I'll take your word on that.
Well, somebody's going to have to post it on Twitter soon for Ash to buy into it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. No, yeah, if you like, pay one of my followers to like just post a link to that old article, I'll be like, what? I'll be like, cool.
But she, I feel like she doesn't need to do that. Like, if people could learn to live modestly, I think that they wouldn't have to be so afraid of being canceled,
Well, tell that to the fucking Pope. He's over there in his gilded city.
Yeah.
Get him.
Be humble, dude.
Be humble, y'all. They wear like fucking giant rings and like finery.
Act like you've been there before.
Remember when I tried to buy you a Pope hat for the live show, and I went to the Catholic store and they were like, that's like $300. And I was like, whoa.
You think there's like a false Pope out there who's like, fuck. I was really hoping this would be a little cheaper.
Well, you know how like every year they find some doctor working at a clinic who's like completely making it up?
Yeah.
Like there's always like one person who's like, yeah, I'm a doctor, and like gets hired to like work at the local like urgent care.
I remember those there were those guys who were like speaking out authoritatively on COVID, and it turned out that they were like working at an urgent care.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
In like Bakersfield or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually my sister
heroes.
is a nurse practitioner, and definitely at the height of it, she was seeing like Facebook posts from other people she knew to be nurses saying like anti-vax stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's like,
horrifying.
listen, nurses, I appreciate your work. I'll go out and bang those pots and pans for you at 7 p.m. if you want me to, but like, doesn't mean that you're suddenly a COVID authority just because,
Yeah. What can I say about podcasting that would be like rock the boat?
Ooh.
What can you say about the medium of podcasting?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying, as nurses would be like.
Yeah. What could I say to really go against the grain?
I would say you can listen to podcasts on mute and still get most of the information from them. Just put them on mute.
Yeah.
Like, put your phone, like turn the volume all the way down, put them under your pillow. You can like pretty much absorb the same amount of information.
Just generate the plays for them.
Yeah.
Like if you would just leave our podcast on loop, just turn it off. If you could all just do that until the new episode comes out,
You could
our
say
numbers, our
something
metrics
like
would go through the roof.
Yes, that's a good idea. Everyone, please do that.
Yeah.
You could say they're even allowing gays and women to podcast now.
Yes.
Is that offensive?
Oh,
that's a really good point.
Vatican City signed a new religion into effect today. They're accepting of everyone. They're even allowing gays and women to preach to the congregations.
I could say, and this would rock the fucking podcasting world.
Okay.
The best place to buy a mattress is at a mattress store, a brick and mortar mattress store. Do not buy it online. You're going to want to lay in the mattress first. And you can go there and you can talk to a salesperson and they'll help you find a mattress for you.
Yeah.
And if you buy a mattress online through mattress.com or Purple or any of these people who have their fucking fingers around the throat of the podcasting industry, I don't know if that's still true, but there was a time. They make the return process so convoluted.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to return it. They
That's
say
how they
that.
get you.
Oh, you can return it. 365 days. You can return it. Not true. Not true.
And here's the fucking thing. You look at that return address. Where are they going? Vatican City.
Yep.
Vatican
Mattress City.
Mattress City.
The nation, the city-state, Mattress City.
So, this movie is a lot of like lore dumping and, occasionally guys run around and get pursued by secret agents and, and then they're like a false agent and then, they get shot and then blah, blah, blah. what really is like the action of this movie? It's not really that involved. That for a movie where so much information is given and so much happens, like the movie even ends on a cliffhanger of like the only thing that they're searching for.
Yes,
which is very remarkable.
They hear the broadcast in Hebrew,
right?
Which for whatever reason is just playing on the radio all the time, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
In this weird like Orwellian like world that they live in, for whatever reason, there's just a radio station that plays.
It's the Jewish controlled media.
Yeah, yeah. So the mystery is like, where is this broadcast coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to a mountain to find that broadcast, where a person greets them and says, "There's no radio tower up here.
Yeah,
to be continued." What happens in between that? Completely inconsequential.
Really?
They meet a new guy, and he turns out to be a traitor and dies, but has no bearing on their mission.
No.
They bring back the lady from the first one who betrayed the main character, but then she's good now.
Yes. Here's something I want to. Yes. Yeah. Here's something
First
that
of all,
Scott and I will need to add to that. Scott, take it away.
Not only did she betray them, she shot one of their friends in the back and killed them.
Okay.
And killed her in the first movie.
Yeah. Kind of a big deal.
There's blood on her hand. She literally killed one of their good friends.
Yeah. I missed
So
that
narratively, a little questionable how quickly they accept her back. It's crazy times, though, I guess. Here's the thing. She was played by a different person in the first movie. That person played the shopkeep person at the beginning of this movie.
In this movie.
I can see why this is so confusing.
Yes. Yes. In the first movie, his girlfriend, Crystal, breaks up with him because he becomes a Christian. Then she kidnaps him in like a balaclava as a terrorist, tries to kill him and his like other female friend, does kill the female friend, gets away. And then he's literally like, there's a line where he's like, "My crazy ex-girlfriends like kidnapped us and like shot." It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Then that same actress comes back. She's one of the first people you meet in the movie. She's like the shopkeeper who works at the place where they don't take a chip.
Yeah. She's
like, "Yeah. Oh yes, this is my shopping center." and then they bring back her character. It's a bit weird. It's like, why even bring back that character? Like,
was
if you're
the new actress was in the flashbacks?
No, it was the original one in the flashbacks, but because
notice
the way they showed it, it was. I feel like they did a good job with that, making it not very noticeable. Had you only watched this one,
yeah.
Still, it's pretty funny to like, if you're watching these two movies back to back, to be like, "Oh, I recognize her. That's weird." And then she's not like, immediately you meet this like the same woman from the last movie who plays a very consequential role.
Yeah.
And then later in the movie, they're like, "That's Crystal, your ex." And it's just like a totally different woman.
So I guess what I'm want to know is all this Vatican stuff in the first one?
No.
Okay.
No.
So this whole movie was the Chris Tempel got really into the Vatican being evil.
Yeah.
And felt he needed to make an hour and 15-minute movie where 55 minutes of it is people talking about the Vatican being evil.
Right.
The first 5 minutes are a mysterious radio station being introduced, and the last 5 minutes are them going to the mysterious radio station.
And then not getting there. Yeah. That's a pretty good summary.
When they first introduced the radio broadcast and then like kept hinting at it every 20 minutes, you'd think that they would try to go there a lot faster, like in terms of just a movie, being an entertaining movie.
Right.
But no, we needed to have a 10-minute montage of a guy learning how to do parkour who dies 10 minutes later.
Right.
Who never does parkour. I think that to me is the actual most frustrating thing in this movie, is that there's a number of setups for chase scenes and then they're just running. There's like hardly any parkour moves at all. Like that training sequence is the most parkour adjacent anything we see in the whole movie.
And why parkour is like the secret weapon to get away from these guys, I get in terms of budget, but like realistically, it seems extremely inefficient. Other than just having somebody wait with a car, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's true. Well, from watching the director's commentary, what Chris seems to really geek out about, and he's definitely a really creative guy. He shot this movie for $2,000, and he loves talking about all like the improvised like lighting rigs that he did.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I covered this type of light like in a white t-shirt and then I color corrected it and like blah blah blah. Just like he's very like that's what he seems to be the most excited about. And like I kind of think that shows in this movie because like, while he's clearly like really resourceful and creative and like had the drive to complete like a project that like, of a scope of which like most people are never going to do.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like his favorite aspects seem to be the technical processes of DIY filmmaking and scriptural study.
Yeah.
And then everything other than that is like he'll have influences. Like he's like, oh, I love like the Bourne Identity, and I love like parkour and like blah blah blah. So he'll have these influences, but like it's one of those cases where like the artist is maybe more of like a craftsman, and I think that kind of like that's probably my biggest critique of the movie, other than I don't think they went hard enough into the Vatican, if you ask me. But my other biggest critique of the movie is that like I feel like sometimes I feel like some of the art is lost in the trying to come up with a solution to a technical problem.
Yeah.
Which is a trap that a lot of people fall into, because you have to try to take on a full film project, especially as like a civilian or whatever, you do have to be like a nerd for trying to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
But those people don't always make the best creative artists, in my opinion.
But from that standpoint, he did make improvements from one year to the next, as far as
certainly
just a technical standpoint of his understanding and capabilities of shooting and lighting a scene.
Absolutely. And like, we're obviously waiting with bated breath to see what Leap Revelation, the third Leap movie, which is currently in production over 10 years after the release of Leap 2.
I'm getting strong Evangelion vibes from the teaser and like all this stuff of like, this isn't the movie you're expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of the Earth's waters turn to blood in the teaser.
Right. Oh, wow. I didn't see that teaser, actually.
Yeah.
Shit.
And is it called, because when I was watching the reveal, it was called Leap 3 Revelation, and then he was saying, I think I'm just going to go back to calling it Leap 3.
Okay.
And then more recently it said like Leap the Final Days or something like that.
That could be. I'm not sure which is the most up to date. I watched a video from like 4 months ago where he said, I finished the script for Leap Revelation.
Okay.
But it could have changed since then, certainly. But that's the only one that I watched. So I'm not sure if that's up to date or not. We will hopefully soon find out. My big question, is he going to get Shane back? What's Shane doing 10 years later?
Right.
Because Shane is, other than the ex-girlfriend who was recast, Shane is the only consistent character between the first two. So I am very, very curious to see if they're gonna get him back.
I would love to see, we don't see like the actual end of days in a lot of Christian movies. I feel like I don't know if we've actually seen it in any Christian movie we've watched.
That's a good question. It's
like some real anime level like terror.
That's a really good point. Scott, can you think of any off the top of your head? I do agree. It's like they always seem to balk at like going all the way.
Yeah.
We don't see the Lego
like
Book of Revelation.
Or Berserk or
yeah. The Lego Book of Revelation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, in the first and I haven't seen this movie, but you said the Nicolas Cage Left Behind does that a bit, right, Scott?
Goes into not really.
Like showing the actual like a visualization of the rapture happening, like in the
They
sky
show the
or
rapture
whatever.
happening, but none of the like crazy stuff. Like not I assume, Julian, you mean like the extremely psychedelic stuff that if you take completely literally from Book of Revelation would like you would have to illustrate it to make it happen or have like a Marvel budget.
Yeah.
The rider on the red horse, the white horse.
I want to see that shit. I'm really hoping that happens.
Do you know that song by Aphrodite's Child that goes, "The first horse is red, the second horse is white"?
No.
Do you know that song? That song's awesome. Some
Whoa.
70s like psych rock like concept album by Aphrodite's Child. That album fucks.
Cool.
The leading horse is white, the second horse is red, the third one is a black, the last one is a green.
Yeah, it's
First horse is a white.
what was that one like Christian song, folk song from that was about like the world
we'd all
ending?
been ready. That one.
Is that the like famous one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that for the
Yeah.
show like a long time ago, like in our first year. We did a whole episode where we talked about like one of the topics was that song.
I
Wish we
think.
all been ready.
Larry Norman.
Yeah, that song goes.
Yeah, that song goes. There's also that one Rapture song we talked about. It's not like an old folk song. Yeah, you must be talking about that song.
Yeah.
That has to be it, because that's like a older song that was adapted. There's many covers of it, but there's also that one song. It's time, the land of the living.
That's not
It's
the one.
time. That one's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't remember who does that, Scott.
Did y'all ever see End of Days starring Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
That was the movie that taught me what stigmata was. I didn't know what it was until I was 11 years
crazy.
old. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that movie being pretty fun.
Yeah, I remember watching it a bunch of times, thinking it was really cool.
Maybe we should cover it.
Jesus will be back.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now to see if it's like, it's not like overtly Christian, but it's like definitely got a lot of, you can tell it was like post 7. They were trying to do like biblical,
right,
like horror detective stuff.
Right.
Or what's the one with Keanu Reeves? Constantine?
The Matrix.
The Matrix. Yeah.
That's about End of Days. The Matrix is.
Yeah. True.
But Constantine's
Some say
cool. That's the one where he has to like look into a cat's eyes with his feet in a bucket of water, and then he can go to hell.
I started it a while ago and I didn't get that far into it.
Yeah, that's how he goes to hell in it.
That's awesome. Man, I've been doing that with I gotta try that with Edie
Yeah,
when I
you
get
gotta
home.
you gotta try that.
Yeah.
with Edie, for sure. If I don't hear from you this week, I'll know you're in hell. You'll write on my wall, "I am in hell, help me."
Feed Edie.
Feed Edie. You're written in blood on my wall. Oh man. Well, I feel like maybe we're basically out of stuff to say about Leap 2.
It's not much to say, to be quite honest.
It's funny. It's like there is so much, but there's also not much. It's really weird. It's like I would love to sort of rhapsodize endlessly about how like strange it is to see these sort of like, you know, slim, like muscular, like twinks, like be like, and so you're saying that the mother of the beast is the Vatican, who is the mother of all churches?
Yeah.
But like at some point, you know, it really just sort of, you get it.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
unfortunately, it's landed after we did. What was the
Elijah's Secret?
It landed after we did Elijah's
Which is-
Secret. which
that's
is
the superior.
secret.
That is the superior anti.
Yeah.
movie.
And also after we did all the Left Behind, which were about the Antichrist taking over. So
It's true. We didn't even
there's
do
not
this on
much
purpose.
that we really need to cover.
We didn't even do this on purpose, but it's all fading together so thematically. But you're right.
It is. I think ultimately though, just laying out the plot, because I took a bunch of notes and stuff, and there's a lot of crazy lines, but just laying out the plot like we did, it's like, oh yeah, hardly anything actually happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let's find a good, wholesome Christian movie.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
one
actually, I
quote-
have something. I won't even say
Yeah.
what it is, but it's something I had in the queue a while ago, but the movie was not available yet. But it's a wholesome Catholic movie. I think it's what we should do next.
Oh, we'll do a pro-Catholic movie.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I'm ready to completely change
To be
my
Catholic.
view. I'm ready to be Catholic now. I was sort of, I was anti-Catholic for a couple weeks there. Hey, we all go through phases, but I'm ready to rejoin the one true church,
There's
Catholicism.
a new Christian movie in theaters right now, The Jesus Revolution with Kelsey
right.
Grammer.
Oh,
Right.
I can't
Yeah.
remember that one. I can't remember if I ever saw a preview of that, but
I'm just saying, for the listeners, we've had a dark run, I feel like,
Yeah.
of global takeovers and conspiracies.
right.
And we're heading towards the light. The tribulations are almost over.
Yeah, I want to see something about like a child angel
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I mean? Who like teaches people how to smile or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or like, what's the one where like the dad goes to the girls' college to debate whether evolution happened?
yeah,
like
Greg
something
Parents
like
goes
that.
to college.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Something
Oh.
wholesome.
I have been wanting to do the unexpected bar mitzvah. That's another Chip Rossetti movie.
Oh yeah, that one. I wonder
Probably
how
not.
wholesome that will be. Oh yeah, we should. That's a good idea. I wonder how wholesome that one's going to be, but I definitely want to watch more Chip movies. Chip is
Yeah.
to God.
Chip to God.
Chip to God. I'll say maybe the final a quote that I wrote down from Leap, Rise of the Beast, that to me summarizes the whole movie. At one point, one of the characters, probably after hearing about anti-Catholic lore for 17 minutes, says, "As crazy as it sounds, it kind of makes sense."
You know, as crazy as it sounds, it kind of makes sense.
Which is basically that's like what I say after I watch any one of our movies, or also when literally any news story appears on my Twitter feed. So that to me is like, yeah, if I could really summarize the movie in one sentence, that's how I would do it.
Yeah, that tracks.
As crazy as it sounds, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Should we review it?
I agree. Yeah. Let's do it. Boys, the Boys of Boys Bible Study. What do we think officially of Leap, Rise of the Beast?
Leap, Rise of the Beast had faith healing simply to prove that God was real, something that is anti-biblical. Pretty cool. It was also misogynistic and really conservative and really talky. No real parkour in it. It was also 70 minutes plus 5 minutes of credits. Which alone makes it a perfect movie. I'm going to have to give this 9 out of 9 Wu-Tang members, including you, God, of course.
Yeah, I'm assuming the other 8 were in God's cabinet when he rose to the rank of world president. Like, is Masta Killa the Secretary of Transportation or something? Like,
yeah, RZA's the vice president, really pulling the strings.
Of course.
All the Wu-Tang Killa bees are in the shadow government.
That's what the Jesuits are.
Yeah.
They're sort of the Pope Francis's Killa bees, if you think about it. Wow. Oh boy. Okay. Well, Leap, Rise of the Beast.
Yeah.
I've got to say, perfect film in every way. It taught me very important lessons of who's really in control. And I don't mean God, of course. I mean his terrifying mirror image, the Antichrist, Pope Francis. I've got to say, ever since Pope John Paul II kissed that Quran, I knew something was going on. I knew something was up. So all my suspicions were really confirmed in Leap, Rise of the Beast. It felt like I was watching a movie made in the theater of my own mind, but in a way I could have never have expressed because, I'm dumb as rocks. I'm not like Chris Tempel, who's like a true dyed-in-the-wool Bible scholar who goes right into the word itself and, explicates it for us. Gonna have to give this movie 7 out of Seventh-day Adventists, who I don't agree with. I don't know what they are, but Chris says he doesn't agree with them, so neither do I. But you got to admit, they're right about the Sabbath thing. The Bible does say we should worship on Saturdays, not Sundays. So don't trust the beast, y'all.
Yeah, I'm going to give this 23 out of 23 Pope Johns, because that is the Pope that started the Second Ecumenical Council of the Vatican.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so fucked.
That's where where it all started to go downhill.
It really
from
did.
there on out. The sequel's never as good as the first one.
Yeah, the sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Catholic Church is really in its sophomore slump era.
Well, I just remembered, isn't Ben Carson a Seventh-day Adventist?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty sure.
I mean, his hands are pretty damn gifted, so if that works for him, then. Well, thanks all for listening. In our eighth in our series of Rapture films, which we did totally by accident, and our third anti-Catholic film in a row. We're on a roll. But we'll see how we switch it up for next week if we do. But thanks everyone for coming along on the journey. If it's your first time here, go to boysbiblestudy.com. That's where you can subscribe to any of our public feeds, get all our free episodes. But if you want more Boys Bible Study content and you want to support us, why don't you go to patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. Anyone who subscribes for $5 per month or more gets episodes every single week. Every single week. And, that's a blessing. Special shout outs, of course, to our patron saints who pledge at the $20 tier. They get a shout out on every episode. Nicole, Marissa, Jeff, Jane, Kara, and Rhett. Our outro music is Oh My God by Mary. From all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott, Julian, Pius, John Paul, Francis, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day